Hello and welcome to our show, Crooked Doctors.
Crooked Doctors, folks.
Today is Friday, February 28th, 2014.
It is.
And we're extremely fortunate to have Ms. Anne Cunningham in our studio today.
Great.
Brought by Mr. Josh Volinsky.
Right.
He was one of our first people who believed in us, donated time to us, diehard tenant advocate. So part of our show, every week I present the facts that drive our cases forward against crooked doctors.
Right.
But part of our mission also is to help other people.
And
a lot of the issues in my case came out in landlord-tenant court.
Right.
A lot of my credit problems, a lot of the issues that came out with my persecution by Yeshiva University came out in landlord-tenant court. And what happened to me and Bill and other tenants in New Jersey is that our landlords would
retaliate,
persecute us by executing these frivolous evictions.
Sure.
We would win, but even though we won, we would still be out our attorney's fees.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did, I started this in 2008, is I was looking at my lease and I realized that my lease had a provision in it that said my landlords could recover their attorney's fees if they won against me.
Right.
But the same wasn't true for me.
For tenants, right?
For tenants. So I'm like, well, there's something very wrong here because we don't inherently draft contracts where one party gets a great benefit and another party doesn't.
Right.
So I theorized that there must be a law in New York, because I know that's the most litigious state I know.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and did my legal research, and I discovered
real
if our technical director would be so kind as to go to the web addresses I have on AAA.
Your file is not open.
No, it's AAA. It should be file AAA.
Oh, file AAA. Okay.
Yeah. And I copied the web addresses for you to make it simple.
Got it.
Okay. So if you open the folder and you'll find a text document.
Uh-huh. Yep, I got it. I'll work on it.
Okay. So what I did was I researched New York real property law, section 234, and we're going to bring it up so we can look at it. And this was the law that I, in effect, copied and pasted and brought to New Jersey. And I said, New Jersey needs a law that says tenants can recover their attorney's fees to be made whole again. Remember when we first came to Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and Josh and Gloria Messer were one of the first two people who donated airtime. I still have the shows that we did where you talked about me and Bill being very fine tenant advocates, and we needed support because we're trying to get this new law passed in Jersey. Well, I'm very pleased to announce that on January 21st, 2014, Governor Christie signed our bill into law that said if you're a tenant and your lease says that your landlord can recover attorney's fees, you get the same right.
I got the page.
Okay, so let's look at the landlord-tenant. This was the
There you go.
This was New York Real Property Law section. This is what the audience is seeing. New York Real Property Law section 234, and it says if you zoom in a little bit, that and I'm not going to read all the legalese, but basically it's a tenant's rights to recover attorney's fees in actions or summary proceedings arising out of the leases of residential property. And basically, not to get lost in all the legal language, if your lease says that your landlord can recover attorney's fees when he wins against a tenant, then this law, New York Real Property Law, Section 234, grants a tenant the same right. So it's legal fee equity. Okay, we're not asking for any
Basic fairness.
Basic fairness. Thank you, Bill. So this is the law that existed in New York, and I brought this to New Jersey, and I went to my elected officials in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2000. It took me 5 years. If you go to the law that we just passed, and this is the law, Senate Bill Section
2018.
2018, it's right there. I made it easy for our technical director just to copy and paste.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to come back to you for a minute, and I'll pull that up.
And so I brought we went to Matt Shapiro. I'll be showing his website, and we just got this law passed. And the reason why it's so important, and I'm so pleased to have you here, is because it has huge implications for New York. So what we did in Jersey is we took New York law, but we did one better. And this is what I'm going to show that we did one better.
This will drive legislation in New York.
Hopefully, and that's why we're hoping that Anne Cunningham and Gail Brewer and Helen Rosenthal and Josh Valinsky and everybody gets involved, because here we go. This is the law that we got passed. This was our Senate bill. This was in New Jersey. Wait. Section 20.
No, S2018, Senate.
Thank you very much for correcting me, Bill. So if you scroll down a little bit, keep scrolling. I'll tell you when to stop. This is what makes our law. You got to go to the sidebar. No, scroll up a little. See the slider on the right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
This
yeah,
is
yeah, sorry.
okay. So we're going to go to the text of the law, and I don't want to lose people, but what I want to show is, yeah, keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. This is what makes New Jersey law stronger than. Keep going down. I'll show you.
Hold on, I'm running that.
There's a lot of legalese here. We had to draft this thing 3 times. Remember what they put us through?
Oh, sure.
Oh my gosh!
Well,
Drafting and
true.
redrafting.
Oh, 3 times. All the stuff that they put us through. Now this right here, where it says, and
I'll
Zoom
in,
it.
just tell me where I'm
yeah,
going.
where it says if the tenant is successful in any action.
Right.
Okay. See on the bottom, right? Then up a little. It's in. Okay, it's
I
into.
got it. I'm
Scroll
just
down a
trying
little
to
bit.
get it.
Now, what? Right there. You can zoom in a little bit. This language. This is the reason why New Jersey law, which we were very fortunate. Scroll down a little bit. Right there. This is what makes Jersey law stronger than New York law, because we have the tenant's rights must be stated in the lease, and it must be in bold type, and it can't be in little type. It's got to be in big type, right in the middle, so everybody
It's
can
spelled out.
Exactly. And New Jersey law requires this statement to be made, and it has to be in the lease, so you can't fool tenants. And it says, if the tenant is successful in any action or summary proceeding, can you put the arrow, the cursor over the language so we can follow along? This must be stated in the lease. That's why the law we passed in Jersey is stronger than New York law, because New York law gives the tenant the right, but it's not stated in the lease.
It's not spelled out either.
Correct. So oftentimes tenants are fooled because they don't see it in their lease. And most recently, I went down to the old district attorney in Brooklyn, Charles Hines. I went down to his district attorney action center, and I showed him a lease. And I said, how come the tenant's rights isn't stated here? And he said, oh, she signed her rights away. I'm like, no, she didn't. If that were true, then it would be explicitly stated that her rights were explained to her and that she waived them.
Well, once it's explicitly stated, they can't say that. Oh, she signed her right. No, she can't sign her right if it's explicitly stated.
That's why when we crafted, or actually this is Matt Shapiro's incisive insight. Matt Shapiro is the president of the New Jersey Tenants Organization. I'll show his website in a minute. But Matt Shapiro helped us lobby.
With the language.
This was his keen insight. And if our technical director would be so kind as just to put the arrow underneath the language, and it says, if the tenant, this must be stated in the lease, if the tenant is successful in any action or summary proceeding arising out of this lease, the tenant shall recover attorney's fees and or expenses or both from the landlord to the same extent that the landlord is entitled to recover attorney's fees or expenses or both as provided in this lease. So this statement must be included in the lease, so you cannot fool tenants.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
In New York lease now, does it state the landlord is entitled to attorney's fees, but it doesn't state any such provision for the tenant in New York?
No. New York real property law that we looked at does state, New York real property law, section 234, does state that if your landlord has a provision in the lease that he can collect attorney's fees, you can also. What New York law does not state is the tenant's right in the lease so that the tenant can't be fooled. That's what we did in Jersey. We took New York law, we got a new law passed in Jersey that said tenants can recover their attorney's fees to be made whole again, but we took New York law one step further
And you strengthened it.
and strengthened it by having that language in the lease. So Governor Christie signed our new law, Senate Bill S
2018.
2018 into law January 21st, 2014. This is huge.
In a couple of months, we'll have what they call NJSA. But now that it's signed into law, has to go through the.
But the most important thing is that New Jersey now is out leading in front. So we must now come back to New York and ask that New York law be changed.
That we could have that, hopefully, the New York law be amended.
Hopefully.
Hopefully that it could be amended.
But may I ask you a question? So would New Jersey law then drive New York law?
Positive progressive
legislation?
change.
Well, the thing is, we would be using that as a clear example that this is important to be done,
Okay.
and it will take work. It will not be done overnight.
Of
All
course
of us
not.
know that.
But the very fact that you have a legislation in one state will definitely drive your.
Well, hopefully, so that's what we've accomplished, and that's our mission. And we'd like to introduce you to Anne Cunningham. I have her card.
Yeah.
So if you could be so kind,
Can you zoom
Drew,
in?
is to zoom in on. We're very fortunate to have this tireless tenant advocate. This is Anne Cunningham. She's housing specialist liaison to senior citizens. She helps the Manhattan Borough President, Gail Brewer, and I have a nice photograph of Gail Brewer that will
great,
show.
great.
You also, I understand, help Helen Rosenthal.
Well, right now I'm coordinating the legal clinic that Gail Brewer started. I helped her with it, and that's been ongoing about 6 years. And Helen Rosenthal's staff, her housing staff, are learning about it, and I'm teaching them all us
Fabulous.
so that we will continue having it. The funding is until June of this year, get the city council funding that Gail Brewer received, and hopefully Helen will pick up on that and be awarded the funding also to continue doing the housing
I have
clinic.
one question. Then, will this legislation level the playing field for tenants in New York in the courts?
Oh, definitely. It will help tremendously, really. It would be a miracle.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is show the website for the. I should show this. We want to say before we go on with what we're doing here in New York, and we promise to help advertise an event that you're having, or this is a series of events.
And the back is in Spanish also.
Oh, good. We'll do both. But let's just say thank you to Matt Shapiro, and if you show Matt Shapiro's website,
Yeah.
the reason why we're saying thank you to Matt Shapiro is because, just 1 second. New Jersey Tenants Organization, Matt Shapiro is the president. He helped us get the new law passed.
Do you have his
Wonderful,
photos?
wonderful.
His
So if you'd show his website.
Can you get his photo up there?
We'd love his photo.
Okay, so this is New Jersey. No, you can stay on the top. This is the New Jersey Tenants Organization.
New Jersey.
This is the organization that Matt Shapiro runs. And we just wanted to say thank you. And if you're
Thank you,
watching
Matt.
us in New Jersey, this is the oldest tenants organization in New Jersey. It's
Right.
been around for about 40 years. Matt Shapiro is the president, and
Yes.
he helped us get our law passed. I think if you scroll down a little bit, our law is mentioned on the website. If you go down a little bit.
Really?
Let's see. There we go.
No,
Keep going. No, keep going.
That's the.
Point information.
Oh, here comes, Jason, go ahead. You're coming in a
Hey,
little
Jason.
garbled, but go ahead.
Am I that garbled?
Yeah, you're coming in a little garbled.
Take it off the speaker.
Are
Jay.
you on speaker or are you on your cell phone?
Hello.
Oh, there you go. That's better.
Better.
All right.
Go ahead.
With the event of this passing of this law, when does it go into effect, and how far does it go back? for
It's-
the tenants?
Those are very good questions. Could you scroll up a little bit? So this is Matt Shapiro.
Has he got his photo?
Hold on. Just chill for a minute. Those are two very good questions, Jason, that I'll answer in just a minute. Can you hit on legislative tab, and let's see if he mentioned our, yeah, here we go.
There you go.
NJTO has scored a victory for tenants.
It is.
The New Jersey Tenants Organization, NJTO, fought for the passage of S 2018, giving tenants equal right to have your attorney paid for by your landlord if you win in court, if you win your court case against the landlord.
Successful.
This right is often written into the lease for landlords, and now tenants can have it too. So that's the bill that we were successful in getting passed. Thank you, Mr. Christie, and thank you, Matt Shapiro. So if you come back to us,
I can answer Jason's question briefly.
do you want to answer it briefly? Go ahead.
Yeah, just a second. Jace, according to Matt Shapiro now, it will take a couple of months to become an NJSA number. You see? It's signed into law, but that's the process. Go ahead, continue.
Okay, but the question that that Jason asked was, is this new law retroactive in Jersey? No, it's not.
It's
and
not.
It starts for all new leases beginning February 1st, 2014.
Right.
Well, that's good. That's quick. That's good.
So,
That's,
go ahead.
that's all new leases. It has nothing to do with past events that were done prior to the signing, correct?
Correct. It's for new leases and new cases. If you have an old case like Bill,
Yeah.
then what you would do is you would sue for damages. So Bill is in the process of suing for
You can
damages.
still use it, but it's not retroactive per
Right, not-
se. Yeah.
Now, what I'd like to do is show the on the web address. I have the website for the Goddard Riverside Senior Center. Oh, you can show this. Go back to let this.
The Goddard
this-
Riverside Law Project.
Right, but let's show. No, scroll up. This is Helen. Scroll up. I want to get the top of her website. You also work with. Can you show this? In addition to Gail Brewer, you work with Helen Rosenthal. So this is Helen Rosenthal's website. She's city council member.
Okay.
And so if you want to read all about Helen Rosenthal, and that's her website, so we figured we'd give her a little shout out. And there she is
Good.
with our new mayor. Maybe we can get our new mayor to help us pass new
He's a
law.
tall
Yeah.
guy. He's 6'4" or something.
Okay, so that's our new Mayor de Blasio, and this is Helen Rosenthal, which I understand, Ms. Cunningham, you work closely with.
Yes.
Okay, and if you could go to, let's show a picture of Gail Brewer. If you can click out of this.
Where did you just want to pull one up?
Oh, you can just no. It's on the it's on my my. If you click out of this website and go to it should be a JPEG.
I didn't. All right, I'm gonna have to.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's in the AAA file.
May I ask a question?
Yeah,
Sure.
go ahead.
We have a conference at Fordham University for tenants once a year.
Wow.
Is that going on this year? The annual Fordham University?
I think it is. It should be.
That's the one.
Citywide Task Force and Housing Court had theirs Thursday, their
That's
annual
fine.
conference.
Okay.
Good.
So every year we have the
Yes, with workshops in all the
Yes.
classrooms
and,
We have
at
and,
the Fordham University Law School.
and it's
We should
usually
have that this year again.
in March or April.
Yes.
Okay, so let's just give a shout out to Gail Brewer, the Manhattan Borough President, and I understand Ms. Cunningham, you work very closely with Gail Brewer,
Yes.
and so we just wanted to show her picture and thank her for her. I understand she's relentless in advocating for tenants.
She is, and I was with her when she was in the city council for 12 years. I was also her housing specialist then, and she was very instrumental in passing the illegal hotels bill.
Oh, wonderful.
It took 4 years to get
I know about that.
through.
We know about that, right?
So, Josh, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Goddard Riverside Center and
Well, it's a very extensive center. It has a wonderful senior center, but it also works with children. It also works with teenagers. It also has housing, has this wonderful housing clinic.
The law project.
And it has
Leave it right there.
concerts. It has a theater. It has even an employment agency for people who are who have mental handicaps, right? An employment agency. And you know, if you're bipolar, you can come down, and other conditions, you can come to the employment center at the corner of Columbus Avenue and 88th Street. The employment center is right on the corner. And the senior center is wonderful. It has trips. It has Tai Chi, yoga, good meals, social workers, scree.
So what I've got now is I have at the Goddard Riverside Community Center, I've got the SRO Law Project.
Yes.
The director is Marty Weissman.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's right. That is correct.
And
I work closely with her.
And the Goddard Riverside SRO Law Project was founded in 1981 to provide free
81.
legal services and tenant organizing assistance to low-income residents. So I understand, you can come back to us if you want.
Sure.
I understand that you have an office there, and you're there every Wednesday from 1 to 5?
Wednesdays I'm with Hamilton with
Oh, okay.
Project Vine, which is another organization.
Okay.
And I work out of the social worker's office there. And many people come to me about housing problems,
Give me that
but
bag,
also
you
about
want
other
to do more.
concerns.
You bet.
And I do intake, consultations and referrals, and follow-ups when I can.
Wonderful.
That's most important.
This is a flyer that you brought us, so
Yes.
let's look at the flyer. And these are the events that you're working on.
Bag, thank you.
Here we go. I got the.
Actually,
Okay. Oh, good. I'll make sure I do that for the Hamilton Center. Okay,
Okay.
great.
back one.
So this is. Whoops.
The housing clinic that Gail Brewer started
Excellent.
about 6 years ago.
So these are. Let's scroll through this very slowly. So we got free housing clinics and workshops, and now you can scroll through it a little if you like. So if you're in New York and you want to come to the next one, scroll down a little.
Yeah.
The next one is March 5th. So it's right here, March 5th.
What time?
And it's, what time will be the workshop?
6 o'clock.
In the evening.
6
6 o'clock?
o'clock.
I'd
And
like to.
Go
I,
ahead.
I also wanted to say that we have 6 legal aid attorneys that are there and give tenants advice.
Oh, wonderful. So on March 5th, 2014, you're going to have 6 legal aid attorneys?
Yes, and an attorney gives a lecture. While the lecture is going on, then tenants, as their name is called, they go in a private room next door and get their legal advice from the legal aid attorneys.
Wonderful. So you can sign up, ask questions, and have a private consultation with a legal
Oh,
aid?
yes, definitely.
All on March 5th.
Mm-hmm.
That's fabulous. Okay, this is wonderful.
We've helped thousands of tenants, actually, through this legal clinic.
That's fabulous. You also have this in Spanish, so I'm going to show this in Spanish. ¿Hablas español?
Un poco.
Un poco? Hablo español un poco mal. Qué lástima. But we have it in Spanish, so I'm going to show it in Spanish. And if we scroll through it very slowly, I wish I could speak Spanish better. Necesito practicar conversación en español porque no recuerdo muchas palabras interesantes.
Better than I am.
I need to practice my conversational Spanish because I don't remember many words. I speak much better. If you scroll down a little bit, the next meeting is in March, right here, and there'll be legal aid attorneys for free, and you can come and ask questions. So we have this also. Next time we'll have a Spanish interpreter. So it's been cool.
And sometimes the legal aid attorney, they do not take the cases, but they will refer some of the clients if they do have eviction
There you
papers
go.
and they meet the income guidelines. They will refer them to a clinic.
Wonderful. And Josh gave me this. This is where you are on Wednesdays. This is at the Hamilton Senior Center.
That's every Wednesday.
Okay, so
Zoom
this
it,
is
take
so if
a
you
look.
want to just focus in on this a little bit.
go.
So Anne Cunningham, the housing specialist, is available every Wednesday from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Hamilton Senior Center. It's located at 141 West 73rd Street, and there's her phone number, 212-787 7710, extension 304.
Right.
So you've been a housing specialist for how many years?
Well, I started doing this work in 1979,
Wow.
Wow.
working with SRO and hotel tenants because I live in a hotel,
Right.
and I still live there.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Josh, thank you so much.
Yes, and I want to say one thing about
Sure.
God at Riverside. You can come down, and when you're being lectured by idealistic pro bono lawyers,
Right.
you can interrupt, you can digress, and you can speak about anything. Like I sent 2 friends down who are having trouble with a co-op, and a lawyer gave them a lot of advice and help.
That's wonderful.
co-op.
That's wonderful. So you have a dialogue and a give and
Yeah,
take.
you can have a dialogue. That's a wonderful way of articulating. You can have a dialogue, give and take. And
Sure.
most of these young lawyers from Fordham, from City CUNY Law School,
right.
from Stanford, from Columbia, from NYU, are very idealistic, and they'll even challenge the current system when they feel that it isn't working. They will say it.
You know, I'm so glad that did you want to say something?
I also wanted to say that I should have mentioned before, this legal clinic that we have once a month, this free legal clinic, is sponsored by God at Riverside and Urban Justice. It's part of their wonderful work.
Okay.
Fabulous.
How does the Urban Justice Center work, Anne?
Well, the Urban Justice, they have their clinic, the Urban Justice Clinic, and they have a multitude of attorneys that work with many different types of problems that tenants have other than housing. It's not totally 100% housing.
Oh, you know, it's interesting that you said that they're going to challenge authority a little bit. Jason, I wasn't going to bring this up, but as long as we got this segue, I figured I'd share this. Are you still with us, Jason?
Just like,
Common law grand jury.
Well, Jason is working on a common law, is our state representative for a national group. He's establishing common law grand juries. So if you happen to be victimized, like I was victimized by my landlord, my landlord actually had me beaten up. When I challenged him in Jersey. Yeah, he's that bad. Yeah, he's.
Oh my God!
I know, it was pretty
Mafia.
bad. Believe me, it was bad. So I had to go to law enforcement, but unfortunately law enforcement protects the landlord, and he hired a guy named Ninel Falcone, who happens to be a municipal court judge in North Bergen. So he had me beaten up, and one of the things that you're doing, Jason, I got this article. This is I mentioned this to you. This is from yesterday's New York Times.
Okay.
Wait till you hear this, because this is really going to knock your socks off. We're starting common law grand juries in Jersey. So if you and actually it's a part of a national organization under common law. What I'm going to do is just grossly oversimplify this for the audience.
Sure.
well,
And
I
for
just want to say
Go ahead.
that New York State was the first state to complete its reinstatement of all 60 counties.
You're coming in garbled again.
Take over speaker.
Yeah, you got to take it off speaker.
I'm not on speaker.
Oh, there you go. That's good.
That's good.
Go ahead, Jason.
All right. New York State in Richmond County, Staten Island,
Oh,
was the first state in the Union to finish its completion of full reinstatement of all its county for the common law grand jury.
Okay, so that means that in New York State, every county, all 62 counties, have constituted their common law grand juries.
Wow.
And the reason,
Well, it actually means that they've done the necessary work. Now they have to do the paperwork. And once the paperwork has been accepted and we're in the courthouse, that's when we're going to have the power to convene our investigation against the violence and abuses against the people of New York State and their counties.
So our problem was, when I was beaten up by my landlord, and I approached the Hudson County prosecutor, and I said, my landlord needs to be prosecuted. They're doing nothing. They're protecting the landlord.
Yeah.
This is often the case.
Sure.
So what do we do? Well, what we discovered was, as we're educating ourselves, and we're educating ourselves to reading the Constitution and the Magna Carta and what our rights are, we discovered, and we're working with a group called the National Liberty Alliance, and I'm grossly oversimplifying just to keep the audience with us. There's basically two different legal systems, and nobody teaches us this, but there's a common law system which comes from England, and so you got the United States, Canada, and India, which function under, there's a common law system, and then there's the Roman model where you have a bunch of statutes and codes. Now when we go into courts, unbeknownst to us, we unwittingly, because nobody tells us, are accepting this Roman model, and this is part of a military, maritime, admiralty court. What we really want is to be in a common law court, and the reason why we've got common law is because in England, what you needed to do was you needed to have commercial business. So you needed to have some predictability if you were signing contracts, that because you can't write a code for every little thing that happens in life, right? So in common law, what they would do is they would base new cases, if they had similar to the same fact pattern, on the same resolution as old cases, so you'd have predictability in law. Well, one of the things we can do is we can institute a common law grand jury if this model fails us. So frequently we go into courts and we deal with the prosecutors and we're dealing with this model, which doesn't help us. But in common law, we can institute common law grand juries, and we can investigate and indict. So if you zoom out a little bit, we've been working on constituting common law grand juries in every state of the union with a national organization. I see you nodding your head, so you're like light years ahead of me. So one of the things that we can do when law enforcement doesn't protect us is we set up common law grand juries, and we can investigate and indict. And the purpose is to take a person who's been wronged, like me, and provide that person with restitution so they can be made whole again, which was basically the common law arguments that we were putting forward when we went to have new law created in Jersey, when we had a new code. We'll beat you in any sandbox. If you put us in this system, if you zoom in a little bit, we'll pass new laws to protect us. So this is what we did. We passed a new law here to protect us, and we're still instituting common law. So whatever sandbox you put us in, we're going to win, okay? Because we've got truth, law, and justice on our side.
The interesting thing about common law is that it's not a witch hunt. We're not here to be vindictive. We're here to find the victim and make that victim whole. Individuals who are victimized every day. When we go into a court, it is a moneymaker. People are there, put in jail, and the judges, prosecutors, and lawyers get a cut of the action. And that is dangerous to us because 2.4 million people are incarcerated in this United States. We are the world's most country with the most people in jail. We have to stop that. We have to stop making money on the backs of unconstitutional laws. And that's what we're focusing on. Thank you.
What Jason brought up, and I'm going to bring out my little handy dandy low-tech notes here. If you zoom in a little bit, what Jason was commenting on is that frequently we're in this system. Now, even though you put us in this system, which is not the common law system, this is the Roman model of codes. We passed a new law in Jersey, Senate Law S-218. 2018. This is the new law to protect tenants in Jersey. So if you put us in this sandbox, we'll change the law to make it fairer. And what Jason's talking about, and I forgive my misspelling here, he's talking about commission-based prosecution, where frequently people are prosecuted and have to fight false criminal charges, or they're illegally convicted or illegally incarcerated because the prosecutor, and the general public isn't aware of this, the prosecutor gets is incentivized, and the judge is incentivized. They actually get bonus points towards their retirement for prosecuting people. So they're incentivized to I spelled commission-based prosecution wrong, and but that's what it is. And frequently people are put in jail just because jail is a big business. So it's milking the taxpayer to make money, which our economy can't afford. So when this system fails us, even though we tried to change the system, we can invoke common law. And what I wanted to get through, because this is breaking news, is that yesterday the chief judge of all the courts in New York, one of the things that we talk about in common law is if you're facing false criminal charges, or even if you have to approach the bench, you can have the assistance of non-attorney friends. Mm-hmm. So we're going to court with a member of my tenants association soon, and we insist to the judge that it doesn't matter if she has a lawyer, she's still allowed to speak. Right. The lawyer cannot intentionally create a false record through, false statements of material fact, which he does, and then he withholds evidence. So by the sin of omission, you have a false record. So we're like, she can get to speak, and Bill and I, as members of the Tenants Association, can stand at the defendant's table with her, and she can have the assistance of non-attorney friends. Mm-hmm. Well, guess who agrees with us? This is going to knock your socks off. Chief Judge in New York, Jonathan Littman, is invoking a pilot project. I'm going to put this up, and this is from yesterday's New York Times. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's basically co-opting the competition, and he's saying that Judge Littman is seeking to have more non-lawyers assist unrepresented litigants in housing. This is what I do with my tenants association.
Yes.
I go to court with them. Chief Judge Littman is seeking to have more non-lawyers assist unrepresented litigants in housing, consumer debt, and other cases. There's a pilot project in Brooklyn. Let me tell you something. For last year, I've been going to court in Brooklyn, and the judges see me, and I'm like, this is a member of my tenants association. She asked me to come to court with her. I encourage them to speak. A pilot project in Brooklyn and the Bronx will allow trained non-lawyers called, quote, court navigators to accompany unrepresented litigants to court and respond to questions from a judge, although not address the court on their own.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The legal profession has no reason to feel threatened by this, since these navigators will be helping people who cannot afford a lawyer and have no alternate form of representation.
That's right.
So this is a reform. You can pull out a little bit. Let me just get, this was in the New York Times. I just want to get the caption so everybody knows. This was in the New York Times yesterday in the editorial section, and it's right down here in Better Lawyering for the Poor. So basically what Judge Littman has done, he must have heard us or come to this on his own, but basically what he's doing is he's allowing now the assistance of non-lawyer friends, okay? And we've been talking about this as we tried to institute our common law grand juries.
Right. There are students that are in law school that he's assigning, he's giving them permission to do this because there are so many cases. A tremendous amount of cases, more than ever before, and I think it's really wonderful because people cannot navigate the system on their own or without representation. It's totally impossible. And I wanted to add, a lot of times when tenants come to me with legal papers or eviction papers, I tell them, when you go to court, tell the judge you want a trial by jury. And when they do that, do you know what happens? In over 90% of the times, the landlord drops the case.
Yes.
The landlord drops the case. That's an old trick I've learned many years ago.
Yes.
Well, that's also added to that, too. With the common law grand jury, there are citations that give people, friends, the opportunity to be helpers with the litigants. And that has not been applied. And when they don't allow you to speak in court because you have an attorney, or I should say lawyer, but an attorney is a person who runs away from the law. A lawyer is a person who protects you from the law. And from there, you are not allowed to speak because the lawyer attorney you have to be incompetent to be represented in the court of law. So this is the doublespeak of the bar, forcing people to hire, creating employment for all these lawyers.
Well, we've all had pretty bad experiences with attorneys. And so one of the, we're going to court with one of the members of our tenants association, and every time she tried to tell the judge the truth, she'd be very respectful. Pardon me, Your Honor, my attorney is not presenting the evidence. We have the evidence. We'd like to share it with you. And she would be told, shut up.
Right.
And she's like, your lawyer speaks for
Yes.
you. And that's not, I mean, her lawyer may speak for her, but she has, and the judge certainly could caution her and say, listen, you're not trained, you may be making a mistake. I just want to caution you, but if you still feel you must speak, you have the right to speak, even if you have an attorney. And you have the right to have the assistance of non-attorney friends. So this nonsense of, because this is how the manipulation, this is how the game is played. We've discussed this with Bill. There's only a few gatekeepers. You control the judge, you control opposing counsel, they influence your attorney because there are deals made behind your back.
Yes.
You change the transcript, right? So there's only 4 points of control, and you can you can create any false record that you want. So the protections that you put in when we go to court, we go to court, and we just did this past week with friends of ours. I didn't bring my legal pad to show, but when we go to court, we bring great big yellow legal pads.
Oh, yeah.
And we there's another group that wears great big buttons that says court support. We used to do this when I worked for Women Organized Against Rape, before we changed law to make it fairer to the rape survivors. But we would go to court, and we would let the judge know we're there, and we'd sit up right in front of the judge. We'd be writing stuff down. Don't change that transcript because we're keeping notes. And this is very effective way of fighting back a corrupt court system. There were independent producers here who were fighting false criminal charges. It took them 9 months, several hearings, but at one of those hearings, the judge made a mistake. And the people that they had in the courtroom with them, we're getting pearls of wisdom here, ladies and gentlemen. If you have to go to court, bring friends, big family, bring organizations, bring groups with you, sit right up there with great big buttons that say court support, don't be afraid, write notes, let the judge know we're keeping notes, so when you change that transcript, we'll know. And here's how it can help. Our friends who are independent producers at this station were facing felony charges. They were being threatened by a prosecutor with years in federal prison. A few months later, they went to court several times. The judge made a mistake, and one of the people in the courtroom said, no, Your Honor, I'm taking notes and you've made a mistake. And they just started piping up, and other people started saying, yes, Your Honor, you've made a mistake. See, I've been taking notes too. And they all started comparing notes. Well, the judge started shaking. Long story short, this was one effective method to fight back. Charges that were going to put these people in federal prison for years were dropped down to a $100 violation, which is like a parking ticket. So you tell me how the prosecutor could have gone to threatening these people with years in federal prison to now all of a sudden he's dropping the charges just because they fought back to pay a $100 fine. So what that's telling us is the prosecutor knew he was overreaching. There was no way he could ever make that case. What he was hoping for was to bully them. And if he bullied them and got them to plead guilty or a plea bargain or whatever, he'd get away with it, and he would be rewarded for this prosecution.
And so to really interact with you, it's a bullying tactic of making deals, really no trial. It's like, here, take this X and you get away with Y, but we still screw you with our Z.
Yeah, it's we file false criminal charges, we bully you, we scare you. Outrageous things are done. So we've got 2 pearls of wisdom now. If you have to go to court, bring your family, bring your friends, take notes, don't be afraid. And as Anne Cunningham has told us, always demand a jury trial because they don't want the truth.
I want to just say, Lydia, you, Anne, Bill, Jason, represent a really enlightened new force in tenant advocacy. In fact, you're the greatest thing to come along
These are my
in
biggest
60
fans.
years. 60 years ago, I worked with Jane Benedict and Esther End.
Wonderful.
Now, Esther End is buried in the Kremlin wall because she was one of the original communists who refused to even take a shoelace from the people. So she's buried in Moscow in the Kremlin wall, even though she lived on the Lower East Side on Avenue D in a project for all her life.
And what your point is that she was a fighter.
She was a fighter.
Yeah. Several times throughout my work with tenants, when tenants did not qualify to have a legal aid or nonprofit attorney and they would get a private attorney, I would say, well, do you mind if I go with you and go and meet him? And if the attorney didn't allow me there, I became very suspicious and would tell the tenant, look for another attorney, my dear.
There you go.
Because they try to isolate
Yeah,
you.
Good
and I did not like that. That was a sure sign, because I have seen early on too many attorneys that were representing tenants meeting with the landlord in the corridor of the courts and making deals.
Yeah,
Backroom deals.
deals
Backroom
behind your
deals.
deals behind your back.
And when you see that, 2 times, on 2 occasions, 2 different cases, it happened, and I was observing it, and I called the tenant over, and I said, this is not going to work out for you. Fire them.
They tried the same thing with a member of our tenants association.
Yeah.
We're going to court, and she would insist, no, I want the members of my tenants association here. You're not violating attorney-client privilege.
Right.
I want people involved. Talk to them. Talk to me. We're going to do everything out in the open because I want it out in the open. So that's another sign that your landlord is your attorney is making a deal behind your back. Take this very seriously, because people wind up in jail because they've being denied their Sixth Amendment constitutional right to effective assistance of counsel. It doesn't apply in civil cases, but in criminal cases, if your attorney is making deals behind your back, then they're violating your Sixth Amendment constitutional right to effective assistance of counsel. And innocent people do get illegally incarcerated because of this. Bill is instrumental, by the way. Bill and Jason, I just want to give you guys a little plug, because Bill and Jason are instrumental in getting a law enforced in Jersey. There was a statute on the book, an ordinance in Jersey City that would provide 24/7 security guards that was not enforced for almost 30 years.
30 years.
And Bill and Jason virtually single-handedly are shaming the new mayor of Jersey City into
City Council.
And the city council into enforcing this law, and the landlords must comply
On Monday, March the 3rd.
on March 3rd. So that's another victory.
Fines and
I don't know anywhere else where you would find 2 people who could force. Jersey City is the second largest city
next to Newark.
in Jersey, and virtually Bill was relentless. He wouldn't stop. And the reason why this law is very important is because when there was no security guards, there was a woman who was murdered, and one
was robbed at knife point in the Grandview.
Right, in the building where Bill lives, there was a woman robbed at knife point, and in another building there was a woman.
100 Montgomery. She was slain.
She was murdered.
Are they seniors?
Were they seniors?
Seniors. They're both senior buildings.
So if there were 24/7 security guards, if the law was enforced, they may not have been.
They would not have been.
Well, we don't know.
It's hard to get past a security guard. What's your name? Who do you want to see? Let me call her up. No, she doesn't know you. It's very hard to get past a visible security guard.
So Jason Berg and William Doherty are heroes. They really are heroes, because they are forcing the city of Jersey City to uphold this law.
Let me add one little thing. For 5 years, Bill was pressing the issue of create this law. And then within the last 3 months, I requested an Oprah request, found out that the law was there.
The law in the
and
books.
it was then knowledge that they had messed up.
It's not
The
being
real thing
enforced.
here, right. And the real thing here is the fact that can they go back because they were stupid? And this is like $1,000 per building in Jersey City. I received an over request a 487-page email of all the units in Jersey City.
Over 100 units.
Right. And if, so it made me say there's, I don't know how many units there were in that, per se, as far as buildings, but 486
Pages.
list buildings, people there, list people there. That's a lot of money. It's $10.
Well, you're losing the audience a little bit, Jason, because not only are you and Bill making sure that this ordinance that
Is
would
enforced.
provide 24/7 security guards in buildings over 100 units
Is enforced.
is enforced, but there's also a registration fee.
Registration.
And that registration fee provides income to the city. So for the past 30-odd years, not only has the city been losing income from this registration fee from landlords, but one woman was robbed at knife
Grandview.
were robbed at knife point,
Yeah.
and one woman at 100 Montgomery Street was murdered.
Was killed.
So you're literally saving lives, and here's one of the things that you did. Can you
Oprah.
This
yeah.
is called Oprah. This is the Open Public Records Act. And you can also use Freedom of It's Oprah. It's
Yeah.
Open Public Records Act and Freedom of Information Act.
I am.
So in order to force your elected officials to transparency, you make an Oprah request, and what you do is you write a letter to the city clerk,
Yeah.
and you demand, you don't ask, you say, I want to see the law, or I want to see the bonds for the elected officials, or I want to see this piece of information, and they must give it to you within 7 days.
Within 7 days.
And
That's the law.
Otherwise, they're in big trouble.
Yeah.
They can be fined, and you can
Yeah,
sue them
yeah,
for
yeah,
lots of
yeah,
money.
yeah.
And just to cover yourself, you can also put this is an Open Public Records Act request / Freedom of Information Act request.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot of information through Freedom of Information.
Yeah, but in New
Freedom
Jersey.
of
And one thing too.
So these are your weapons. Did you want to?
The Freedom of Information I've
Act, yeah.
used, but the Open Public
And
Records
Oprah.
Act.
Oprah Public Records.
So what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen, is not only are we helping tenants, and not only are we, helping to change the legal system so it's fairer. And lucky for us, Jonathan Littman, the chief judge, has co-opted the competition. This is great. Could you get a better validation, Jason? Could you get a better compliment than having the chief judge say, hey, we need the assistance of non-lawyer friends?
Did he ratify it?
Could you get a better compliment? Wait till the national organization hears about this.
This is
What's really great is that
This is great.
taking away the bread from the lawyers and helping the people save their homes, save their lives, and push forward a better country, nation.
Mm-hmm.
And to give an example, this is not the first time that I broke the bust of the Jersey City administration. It took me 5 years to reactivate the Environmental Commission when it was finally passed by Mayor Healy, who's called it the no longer in existence. When he gets passed, he couldn't get enough green out of his State of the Union address in 2010, 2011. And it would have been faster, and it would have got more profit in the sense of getting more power.
Okay, we're wandering off a little bit, and we're almost, we have about 4 minutes left.
One sentence.
Wait.
Are you speaking truth to power now?
Yes, we are. But before we get into, a lot of platitudes, we got about 4 minutes left. So what I want to do is, I hope you'll be a regular every few months. Come and tell us, what's going on.
Update.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
And what I want to do
I'll
is
be
show
back again.
Anne Cunningham's card again.
At a Zoom.
And I want to show where she can be found so this is Anne Cunningham. We're incredibly fortunate to have her today.
Yes, we are.
She's a powerhouse,
She is.
a living legend. I can't tell you how flattered I am. Thank you so much.
Thank you
And
so much, too.
wait, here's where she can be found every Wednesday.
Yes.
So if you're a tenant out there and you need help, particularly if you're a senior, come to the Hamilton Senior Center, and you can come in and speak or make an appointment to speak with Anne Cunningham. We are incredibly lucky to have her, Gail Brewer, Helen Rosenthal. These are fighters, relentless advocates for tenants, also fair to landlords.
And we also have Linda Rosenthal, no relation, who is the assembly member,
fabulous.
who's
Fabulous.
involved in housing.
And if you want to come to March 5th, this is the Goddard Riverside Center. If you could focus in on this a little bit. And this is I just want to, say it again for the audience right here. March 5th, come in. They've got legal aid attorneys you can talk to privately for free. Or if they're having a discussion, you can raise your hand and you can ask questions. There'll be a give and take. I don't know where else you're going to get this kind of free legal services. This is phenomenal. This
Yes.
is phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Thank you so much. Where you can come in and talk to lawyers, talk to them privately, or talk to them in an open public forum. This is the Goddard Riverside Community Center. Just focusing on the address right here. This is on Columbus Avenue between 88th and 89th Streets in Manhattan.
593 Columbus.
Right, the Goddard Riverside Community Center, an incredible resource,
Your phone number?
and it's all right here. This is their address, and a phenomenal resource. God bless you. God bless Gail Brewer. God bless Helen Rosenthal. This is phenomenal. We have about less than 2 minutes left, so we're going to let our guest Anne Cunningham share her thoughts with take us out.
Well, I did want to say it's been an honor and a pleasure to be with you on your show and with my colleagues here. And this is a wealth of information for tenants all over in New York City and in New Jersey, wherever tenants are. I think they should key in on this. We've learned a lot today, and I want to thank my colleagues here for all their work on behalf of tenants.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll just say 2 words.
Go ahead.
This is from commercial TV. Mission accomplished.
Okay.
Accomplished, folks.
Very good. Very good. Okay, we got about a minute left. Jason, do you want to say share a few thoughts? You got about less than a minute left.
To the people of New Jersey, New York, and other states, wherever this goes, the power is in your hands. Look at National Liberty Alliance. Take action. Don't be distracted from not getting what you want. When everything is achieved, you will believe that you are number one with what you've done. And take back a republic from the bureaucrats who have stolen our republic for over 200 years. When we all finish, we'll all see our savings, our grace, and a better republic. Thank you.
Amen.
All right.
So Jason would direct your attention to the website National Liberty Alliance, and you can register, become a common law jurist online, and help set up common law grand juries in your state. Thank you so much.
One point within